afternoon, Central Mafia. Good afternoon, Keith, Sean's Big Daddy, and Aaron.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good.
I was looking at those pictures on the intro of all the previous Central Mafia meetups that we had. Gets me excited because we have our two upcoming meetups coming up. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So welcome everybody to another live stream for the Central Mafia. For those of you who are new and don't know what the Central Mafia is, we're just an MSP community. And what makes us different is that we are MSP owned. We're just run by MSPs, and we build this for MSPs. And what we do is we bring the community together through education. That's pretty much what we do. So we do have a couple of meetups that are coming up, and the first one is going to be on September 17th over in Burr Ridge, Illinois. We're getting traction. We're getting people signed up, so I am very excited about the people who are going to be there. We have a lot of new individuals that are showing up, so that is great news because new members into the community, and we have a full agenda. Actually, we adjusted the agenda. We were going all the way 8 to 5. I mean, full day of networking and full day of learning and full day of just getting together. So way to sign up is down there. You can go into centralmafiaug.com. There's links in there to sign up for Chicago and also to sign up for Anaheim. So
we should mention that the hotel you picked in Chicago is strategically located next to some great restaurants. I mean, like after the meet, there's really I don't know what the mall's called right there. But I was impressed. We walked over there, and there was probably like 5 to 10 great eating choices within walking distance.
Oh yeah, the Burr Ridge Village is what it's called. And yeah, it's a great location. So if you are terrified of when we say Chicago, don't worry about that. We're going to a place where it's easy to get to and lots of places to go to after the meetup. And we do have the pre-day as well. So we'll hang out there at the Marriott. We'll play some cornhole. We have some good food, good drinks, and
cigars.
Absolutely. Hey, there's never an event where there's no cigars if you're involved, Keith.
That's right.
So then in October 8th, we'll be in Anaheim, and we'll see you there with Keith and Aaron. Keith, are you coming to Chicago? You planning coming to Chicago? I know I asked you this before.
Yeah, I think so. I have my daughter's birthday, the one that was in the office, and my granddaughter's birthday the week before, and I'm flying them out, and then I'll probably jump on a plane and head out just for a couple of days. And it's good. It's always good. I go, and Sean really wants me to go to every event because he just loves catching up with me.
Yeah. and he'll be there. So yeah. You guys will be able to catch up. Yeah. One note though, if you have not registered, go ahead and register. And if you have not booked your hotel, make sure you do that because the registration links expires next week. So make sure if you're going there the night before, because we have people that drive like 4 or 5 hours to our meetup. So there we do have accommodations scheduled there. So make sure that you do schedule those. Okay. Today we have a live stream. All these live streams are being sent to our LinkedIn. So hello, LinkedIn world, Facebook, and also our YouTube, and they are stored on YouTube. So if you hear anything today that you think is relevant and you want to rewatch it or share that with anybody within your peer group, just go over there and you'll be able to share that. And those links, they're all available on our website, centralmafia.com. Today we have with us Jay Abercrombie from Acronis, and we will be talking about autonomous IT. So autonomous, we talk about like automation. A lot of people are using AI in the inside of their their back office, trying to increase client experience, client retention. And then James is here to provide his expertise. And this is one of the sessions that he will also have at our meetup. So it's kind of like a teaser. So if we're going to be, he's going to be doing a deeper dive into it. And he's also going to bring a partner with him that he's going to be sharing all of his success stories. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring James. There he is.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
You don't need like an introduction. Like do we read what James does? Like everybody knows James. You're like the man out there in the communities.
Too kind. It's great to be here. For those who don't know who I am, I'm James Abercrombie. I'm with Acronis. Much of my work is focused on the MSP community, really spending time with partners, understanding how their businesses are changing and making sure that those conversations are making it back to the right people within Acronis, really. And I'm especially interested in how MSPs can deliver better security and IT outcomes without creating more operational complexity for their teams. So super stoked to join the guys at Central Mafia and the ladies and everybody who will join us out here in Schaumburg. As the guys were mentioning earlier, great restaurants. I also found some great record shops as well. So shout out to Juan and Sean and everybody figuring out the best place for us to go and meet up. It's a wonderful time.
James, I'd like to first start with saying, I want to thank you and the Acronis group. As soon as you got involved with Central Mafia, you really guys just went in full and are a huge asset to our group. And the other thing is, just for people online, the fuller the beard, the fuller the brain. So I just want everyone to understand that.
Just trying to catch up to you, my friend. Just trying to catch up to you.
We got a long ways to go, Aaron.
No, I tried doing that crazy mountain man beard during COVID, and it doesn't. This is way better. So I'm gonna stick with the hipster beard. It's much better for me.
Yeah. Mine, the longer it gets, you can still see that white, so I can start looking like Keith.
Yeah.
Still try to keep it up close.
It's an art to do a long beard without looking homeless. It really is. So
I looked homeless for a long time. I still feel like I look homeless when I wake up. So
I guess there is a phase where you gotta grow through it, right?
I grew the beard solely because I don't like shaving. That's it. It's not that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a beard one day, or I'm gonna grow a handlebar mustache. That came later. It's like,
there's a point where you're growing it, and everyone wants you to shave. Right, they want you to shave because you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, now it's like, no, I'm never shaving.
They're like, don't shave. It's amazing.
Yeah, I grew it just to irritate my daughter before she was getting married, because I didn't shave a couple of days, and she said that was the ugliest thing I ever saw. Which, if you're a father, that means you got to do it more. Your job is to. And looking homeless just because I live in the ghetto, I don't think you guys should say that.
Well, I feel like then we need to have. I think next time we should have a panel on beard, and then we can just talk more about that. All right, I just got a message saying that my mic is not the right one, and thank you for that. And it should be a lot better. So
there we go.
You sound great. Oh, we could hear you before, but you sound great. Way better.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. At least my my speakers are working, and I can hear you. That's been my latest battle. All right. So, we're here to talk about automation and how MSPs are using it. And it's been I feel like it's been a long journey that we've been talking about this ever since even a lot of systems, they had the initial workflows. Those were ways just to create simple automation, if then logics there, and it has matured quite a bit. So I'm just going to start with with the simple questions like, how have you seen the maturity of MSPs evolve over the years with this whole hyper automation and automation inside their back office or client experience?
So you want me to start, or you want the guys who actually run the MSPs
Whoever.
to start?
Go ahead. Go ahead,
So I
James.
mean,
You're
like
the star of the
I
show.
can kick it off, and then the guys with the real know-how can talk about it. I mean, I'm just here to really amplify voices, right, guys? So I mean, what we started with, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was all Breakfix, right? It was just something broke, and you came in to save the day, right? And then ultimately, we have great SNL skits because we've got guys who just come in and unplug it and plug it back in, or they restart it 3 times, and automatically or automagically things work. Along the lines, something's changed, and now we needed to start providing a little more services, right? And the market started moving towards those managed services, and we started standardizing and monitoring and maintaining and protecting environments under, a recurring model. And relationships became much more effective, much more necessary, and they became proactive and predictable because you could say, these are the services that I offer. This is what I deliver to you every single month. This is what I'm going to charge, and we can get there, right? But I believe that the next stage is autonomous IT, right? How do we scale our businesses? Because obviously we've gotten to a point where maybe we've hit a hurdle, right? We've grown our business to a certain area, and now maybe 1 million annual, maybe 2 million annual, maybe a little less, right? Maybe a lot less, but we've hit a wall where we can't figure out, is it more services? Is it more staff? What is it that we need to do? And that's really what this session is to talk about. But Keith, Aaron, Juan, you guys all run, successful MSPs. So what have you seen over the years?
Oh,
So I don't know if I
whoa,
call
whoa,
it
don't
successful,
assume
but
that.
I don't know if I'd call it successful. I think that, when you use AI to replace human interaction, I think you're going down the wrong path. And there's a lot of surveys that show that. There's I think what you do is you use AI or automated procedures to help you really spend more time digging into your customers' outcomes. You don't sell customer service to your customer, you sell customer service to your customer's customer. That's where it's noticeable. And so, I see some things that come out, and I don't want to bash anyone's project. I see some things come out where they're doing these automated ticket responses and all that. And then you pick up the phone, you go, you're not the guy that I was talking to in the ticket. And so you have that language barrier and you have that way of describing things. So I really at the point, and maybe because I'm older and still believe in the belly to belly sale and that sort of thing, I think you use AI to help streamline your back end operations, to help do triage, to help your technicians be more informed when they get on the phone, to better go through and look at ticket history so they can talk like they're educated on the topic. But I think it stays away from customer facing right now. I think
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if it's customer facing, it's just one of the hospitality AI front ends, right? That's what I'm thinking. Obviously, I hear what you're talking about with the ticketing, and the AI triaging. Shameless plug, we have that. But the idea here at its simplest is that autonomous IT is really taking your repeatable business and your technical workflows and allowing integrated systems to carry out more of those workflows automatically, right? So that we don't have that back end error that we have to worry about. So like you said, operational workflows, these things that are not the front end customer interaction, right? It's the stuff that happens on the back end, onboarding, offboarding, yada yada. But yeah, MSPs are already doing these workflows, right? It's just more about making them more automated. Obviously, I think automation is a big buzzword for a lot of people. I think that ultimately it's workflows, right? This is what we did before. We created automations before, and now AI is making that automation a little bit more easy to trigger on its own and then to deliver, an outcome. No longer is it just modeling an answer that it thinks that we want, right? It's now coming back and delivering actual results, right?
and if we study the general marketplace, too often we think we're tech guys with a cape on our back, but the marketplace is the marketplace. And if you look at it, you say, people do not want self-checkout. People do not want, Kmart's out of business. Nordstrom's still here. And I say that over and over again. People want service and people want value. And when you talk about automation and streamlining, I think there's a different sell. And this is just my opinion, but your customers do not fear paying for your services. They're worried about how your service is going to disrupt their business. If you talk to a high-level CFO is going, I don't care if it's $5 an agent or $10 an agent. That's immaterial in the cost of labor. So we really need to use automation so that we're not being disruptive to their business flows. And in fact, we're complementing them. And
Absolutely.
I think that's what's important is to apply it correctly and then to become experts in it so we can help them use it as Microsoft, and not to pick on Microsoft, but they're a little bigger than me. They just threw Copilot at everybody and they're going like, I got to use this without a plan, without understanding the implications, without even knowing if it has maybe complicated the workflow. And I think there's a step back and you say, where do you want to go? Like in football, the Dallas Cowboys want to get in the end zone. And that's not just one.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they though?
And so you're going like, but that's done usually in the average play in football's under 5 yards. So you're going, that's in 5-yard increments normally. And so I think it's the same thing as we're implementing these things for our clients and into our workflows. Like, first decide where you want to go.
Yeah, you have to know where you're going before you can create an automation for it. I mean, if you don't know the outcome, then what are you doing? I mean, you're experimenting at that point in time, right? And that's an important distinction, right? We're not talking about removing people, right? It's about removing unnecessary manual steps. That's really what we're looking at doing, right? Is eliminating what I would call the swivel chair work, and making it easier to focus on what's important, right? Instead of copying information between systems or manually checking the same conditions, same alerts, the same monitor, the same, dashboard, acknowledging the same routine alerts. We could still own the same outcome. But we can focus more on that customer relationship. We can focus more on the things that matter. We can focus more on the super critical patches that need to be applied, right? And that's the main reason why I love doing this type of talk with a partner, right? And I've got Mark joining me from Bizcom, and they've been around since like 2003. They started out as a hosted exchange provider. In about 2018, I think, is when he switched over to managed services. And with those services, he's grown to about 160 customers that he services worldwide, right? I think about 28 countries. But the idea here is that he's utilized a lot of automations, a lot of integrated solutions, a lot of native integrations to get them to where they needed to be, right? So with that, right, I think automation is not just about going out and asking a model, hey, what can I do today? Or, hey, let's brainstorm. I do love a good brainstorm with a server. Don't get me wrong. I love to be able to pick a processor's brain, but that's only because I don't always have access to a round table of my peers, right? And that's why you should obviously come and join us in Schaumburg and sit down and let's talk about these things.
And that's such an important discussion, because if you read the MIT study, and I think smart people go to MIT, it says about 87% of AI projects fail. And by the way, don't let that alarm you, because a little over 70% of business projects fail. So you got to keep that in context. But the core reasons are the same. Is, first of all, people try and reinvent the wheel. Second of all, they don't have an end plan. And that's why I think your talk is so important, is because I'm sure, we depend on vendors to say, give us good automation that you've tested in a test bed, because we're small guys. We can't do that. And then listening to, guys that come in, and I'm sure you're very successful customers can tell us about how he tripped during this journey. And listening to him, you go, what I'm going to get out of it is I'm going to learn everything he did wrong and not do that again. And I think
Mhm.
that's an important way to listen to these discussions and say, you're getting me to the end only on your back. And that's okay.
And that's the biggest thing about community, right?
Yeah.
Is being able to learn from one another.
Yeah.
You touch a good point there, both of you, because James, earlier you talk about, when we're moving from Breakfix and we try to like standardize all these processes. I'm a process guy, and my job here is to make sure that like our tools meet our employees' needs and what we need to do for the company. A lot of times we're just limited to what the software, the package was able to do. So we were building processes, around that and make sure that we're following them. And Keith, you just mentioned like trying to reinvent the wheel. So if you have your process and like where do you start and what are your outcomes, when you start bringing out all these new tools and new automations and bring AI to help you make decisions, it is a great opportunity to review what you're doing and try to find really those efficiencies, right? So where you can, reduce some of the things that we're doing here is like, let's reduce the amount of clicks. Let's remove the amount of decisions that a human has to make to move, a ticket or a sales order or an invoice from point A to point B. Not only to improve the client experience, when we talk about resolution, but also on the back office, product delivery, invoice and generation, and all of that. So I think it's a great opportunity for all the MSPs out there that are looking at these, these new tools that are becoming available. Is go ahead and review those processes that you established, 10 years ago, and don't. One thing that I tell my team is like, if the process looks stupid, let's not reinvent stupid. Right? Let's look at the efficiencies because we have the opportunity. At this point, it is really a turning point to focus on that.
I like where you're going. Years ago, I spoke at a conference, and probably one of the reasons they don't ask me to speak is sometimes I'm a little too direct. But someone from the audience was just drilling a vendor on things that I don't think are relevant. Like, do I get a discount? How much? How you can help me obtain clients? My view on that is if the vendor obtained all the clients, what do they need us for? But the most important thing is they weren't looking at the important factors. How does this fit into my workflow? How does this make me more efficient? Because if an example, if someone's backup agent is $1 more per endpoint, but it's more efficient, gives me better reporting, corrects errors, you're going like, I'm going to make that back 100-fold. And so I think that's a way we have to look at things, because we're kind of brokering services in some sense, but we're adding value to it. But we depend on these vendors to come through and say, you're going to make my life easier, which makes my customers' life easier. And we cut labor across the board. And I can't think of a business around where labor isn't one of the top expenses. And not only that, there's a thing of trust in the system. If you want people to use automated systems, they better stinking work. Otherwise, they're going to find workarounds. If you ever walk into an accounting office, I almost swore there, see how I caught myself. If you walk into an accounting office and they're using Excel on the side, the first thing I say is, your accounting software doesn't work right, because you're pulling data out and doing this thing over here when it's supposed to be in case. So you have to make the systems very trustworthy. And that's why you need to look deeper into the vendor's offering, into how are you backing this up? What's your experience in this field? And are you just handing me a bunch of AIs you downloaded from, Chat GPT today? Or have you guys run this through the rigor and used them and you could show me their instances they work on? And I'll let James, elaborate on that.
I got a bit to say, yeah. And this is why integration matters, right? In a fragmented environment, one tool can generate an alert. That technician then has to determine which customer and which device it relates to, then gather context from several different systems, create a ticket, decide whether the device should be isolated, check the backup status, notify the customer, document everything. And the idea here is that these are all things that are repeatable, right? It's workflows that we know what we need to do every single time. So in an autonomous model, the goal is for those integrated systems to coordinate as much of that initial response based on y'all's rules. You know, the workflow could gather the evidence, create the incident record, isolate the affected device, verify that the recovery options are available, check, you know, if the backup has been tested, notify the appropriate people, escalate the case to the technician with the relevant information already there, so that the technician's no longer starting from a blank screen saying, okay, let's figure it out. They're stepping into an organized incident, something that's ready to go.
That's helpful, and that is an excellent like explanation that you as a vendor explain to us, and us as the MSPs need to explain to the client when we talk to them about the tools that we're implementing. Like I bet if we go to a client and tell us like we're implementing autonomous IT, they'll be like, oh my
Well, you
God,
can't. No, we're not selling autonomous IT. We're selling
what are you doing?
algorithms, right?
Exactly.
It used to be, you know, we're coming in, we're fixing whatever the call was, and then it was, here's a list of services. Now we are selling you peace of mind, right? We are selling you that extension of your business. It used to be that you had an IT team, maybe you had in-house staff. You no longer have that, and if you do, they are extremely specific on their knowledge. Maybe they're Exchange professional, maybe they're a database professional. Either way, when you hire an MSP, they expect that you're going to show up every single time and be able to solve the problem. And that's what we're selling them, right? We're selling them the outcome that when that does go wrong, we're there. Now, I know I'm a vendor, right? But I'm going to answer the call no matter what. If an MSP calls me and says, I need help getting one of my backups, I need help getting through this ticket, I need help doing something, you better damn well believe I'm going to show up. It's about integrity, right? It's about who you are as a person and your moral and your code. But again, it, it's about making it easier.
How are you? How scary is it when you bring that topic? That's where I was going when we're talking about autonomous and like taking control and executing all these different things. I think there might be a little bit of sometimes fear. Uh, Explain this. Um, and that's what I was saying. Like you explained it very well. Like these are the things that you build into your system that they're going to be automatically executed because this is your process, right? And it's making it easier for either the technician or the end user, right? That outcome to them. Have you seen you talk to different MSPs or different clients that this is like still a concept that it's hard to implement or how to roll out?
So I think it's twofold, right? We've got one facet where you have technicians reluctant to utilize due to the fact that they don't want to put themselves out of work. And, you know, ultimately you're not going to put yourself out of work. And the reason being is that we still need to put in place guardrails for these automations. We still need to maintain these automations. We still need to make sure that if something were to change or something is added or updated, we're there to ensure that it is, you know, functioning as it should. Automations as a whole, take out autonomous IT. Automations as a whole have been around within IT for many, many, many years to make our lives easier. Right? We build out different scripts to do a task that we don't want to do day in and day out. This is just the next step, right? It's the transformation into the next era of saying, well, we could take it further, right? These systems are much smarter. We have APIs being shared between different solutions. We should be able to have a generic ticket solved and closed without true interaction. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a customer, a vendor relation. What I'm saying is that if I need to get something done, I don't want to go through and talk to 3 people on the phone. I want to be able to dial in. I want to get something reset on my account, and I want to get on my merry way, right? But obviously, I work in IT. I know when it comes time to talk to a technician, and I know how to hit the right buttons to get to the right person, right? But ultimately, the first facet is the pushback from the technician. The second facet is what Keith mentioned, right? It's understanding what that outcome is. Before you can actually create an automation, you need to know what that process is. And if there is a different outcome for each one of your clients, you cannot create a true automation across the board, which is okay. But still, if there is a client that requires the same tasks day in and day out, there's no reason why we should introduce human error when we can create a system that the solution itself can automatically, resolve or remediate or provide us the information that would make us more successful at that time.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting watching how how IT, like MSP owners and managers are processing, like bringing on IT, or I'm sorry, bringing on AI to do things that were typically done by people, and how our kind of end clients are looking at it. And in general, I see some non-MSP business owners extremely ambitious about trying to bring on AI, and you see a lot more. You see a lot more kind of not resistance, hesitation from
Mhm.
MSPs, because they just kind of know, they just know too much, right? They just know how much can go wrong, and everything like that. But because that, I mean, most of what I'm engaging clients with now is less even traditional network management and more about AI operating systems. And there's some folks are extremely cautious about it. And if you ever walk in to talk to a business owner and you're like talking about chopping headcount with AI, that's like 99% not going to get you anywhere. Nobody really wants to do that unless you're like an enterprise or something. The but what does pique the interest is, because if you probably find a lot of, you find a lot of these, like, just like professional offices and stuff that are dealing with this problem of being extremely busy, and they don't really feel like adding headcount is going to solve the issue necessarily. And they also don't want to add more clients sometimes, right? They're not even like, oh, I don't want to really like bring on more business because I'm already too busy.
Yeah, it's too much
I
of
don't
a
want to go
headache.
I don't want to go hire more people. It's hard to find good people. So it's these things of like, I'm like, well, if I just kind of keep things where they're at and just make less money because costs are going up, I'll survive. So that's where the conversation about using AI in our clients' offices is really hitting, because you're like, look, we are going to know how to go in, and we're going to find like that knot, that bloat, that that 400-pound weight that's on your company that you don't see, that no one's going to miss, right? We're going to be able to automate these operations, which most automations are not even AI driven, right? But like a lot of times you can go in and it's kind of just using smarter tools, and then you can, in some cases, you might be able to hook in an LLM somewhere to do something a little bit more intelligent, not to take jobs away, but like to get them to work on human to human work. Anytime a human is at a computer just like chopping away at stuff, they would much rather be helping some, in most cases, helping a teammate or a customer do something rather than do some repetitive work, right? And that's kind of feels like obvious, but you see it in every business, even in even in MSP businesses. And so that's the thing where I think like the conversation is going, and there's a lot, and I think a lot of MSPs have been sort of bashful about going in and just like talking about like these kind of like big operational topics with clients. And because they're part of it is they're just busy managing all their MSP. It's one more thing to talk about. But people like me are walking into businesses and doing that, just so you know. So that's kind of, I lead with that now. So and I'm kind of like smaller and more nimble. So it's one of those things where the door I'm walking in is, what do we do about AI? The door. And so that's that's something that's a good warning to MSPs, is like, you don't have to go and implement a lot of stuff right now, but you should absolutely be speaking about it with them like that, strategically, from in QBRs and as much as possible, because that is something that they're all wondering. They may not bring it up, or they might not know where to start, but they're all thinking about it because the awareness of AI is now ubiquitous.
So it's funny you bring that up, Aaron, because I'm in a different world than you. My first client was Boeing C-17, dealing with if I'd walked in there and said anything I was going to do is going to eliminate jobs, or at the ports with the longshoremen. So we use different words. We're going to increase capacity.
Mhm.
I just thought it was funny, the different variant. I can't walk in there and say, I can't go to a union meeting and say, I'm going to create a system that will reduce the amount of clerks on the waterfront. Because then
Well, no,
you'd find my
that's what.
body chopped up in the bottom.
That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like you want it. What's gonna pique their interest is like if I can keep my headcount the same, increase the productivity and the capacity. That's gonna make business owners feel a lot more comfortable about talking about it because it's hey, we're not here to chop headcount. We're
Yeah,
here
you're
to
not
we're here to give everyone
impacting.
bigger hammers, right? We want
Yeah.
bigger hammers. We want faster chainsaws. That's the thing we're trying to deliver because right now business owners are having trouble. They can't squeeze their team anymore, and they're not comfortable hiring.
Yeah.
They're just not comfortable hiring.
So what we're looking to do is provide them, like you said, the bigger hammer, and that bigger hammer is making it so that we can manage more workloads. Now, does that mean more work? No, it means that we automate the mundane work, right? Because you can automate an individual task inside a single tool. That's great, but it still leaves the overall process of whatever you're doing, right? Kind of as a manual process. Consider like onboarding a new customer or an employee, right? There's a sequence. It involves account creation, security policies, endpoint protection, backup, monitoring, documentation, validation, all this stuff for the deployment to make sure that everything's there for this new customer. But we need to make sure that there's nothing missed, right? Because if there's something missed, then we have downtime, and then that just creates havoc within itself. So I think the real value is where we can put automations in when it affects, say, like security or backup, endpoint management, service operations, your documentation and reporting, right? This should all participate in the same workflow, and without an integration, your technician then becomes the integration, right? They're the integration. They are the AI, if you think about it at this point. They're the one who's going from this point to this point and doing the thing, right? We can make it easier. So again, they're the person manually moving information and decisions from one system to another. But if you have natively integrated tools, your MSP can build a coordinated process around that customer outcome. That's what you're selling, the outcome, rather than around the limitation of each product.
Yeah, I just jumped to something. I'm kind of close to what Aaron does, but I jump to the end. I go out there and say, how can I get you paid faster from the Air Force? I mean, something that really lights up to the CFO, because the guy I'm really after is the guy that holds the money. Everyone else is like in that conversation. I go, I'm glad you're all here, but I first want to impress him or her. and so, or when we
true salesperson there, Keith, true salesman.
But you're talking to saying, when you talk in hospitality, how can I make your guests give you higher ratings? And you learn that stuff, like if you go in a hotel, and you guys that are travelers like James know, your threshold at the front desk is 5 minutes. Every hospitality magazine will tell you that. If you stand, especially if you have a reservation in your Marriott Platinum Plus, whatever the deal is, you go, I'm not standing here more than 5 minutes because I've already gotten delayed 18 times by the stupid airlines. And so we said, let me address that problem. How I do it with a stack and behind the curtain, I don't think anyone cares about me. You guys can refute me on that. When you're talking about stack, all they want to know is you've backed up my files. They don't care where, how, with what.
They just care that they'll be able to access them when the time comes, right?
They need to know. You can back them up. You can clean up a VM. You could test it. They're periodic. They're tested every day in the back. That's the stuff they want to know. The ABC or the XYZ brand in front of it to our client, I think, is very immaterial. How we integrate that into our delivery system, allowing us to focus on providing, Disney level service, is where I'd like to focus. I like the fact that this is going on in the back end, and not to reduce time with my customer, but to actually, I'm going to increase it in face time that's more productive. That may be just a different, you guys can tell me I'm wrong because I'm wrong a lot, but that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah, and I want to highlight on something that James was saying, just a keyword there when you said integrations. So, You know, and that is, I think that's key when you're looking at all these different systems or the platform, like you guys do, James. Like, it's the ease of integration within the tools that you're going to use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even there, or regardless of the platform that you're using, I think that's something that every MSP should be asking now, right? Their minutes, like, how does it integrate? How does the integration really work to make this efficient?
You save time, you know, and if you don't know what that process was before, right, where they were doing the swivel chair, you know, you can't very well forecast, you know, what type of savings you're truly getting out of it, right? So you've got to standardize first and then automate second. You've got to see what it is that you're doing, see what those processes are, and then you can automate those processes and then evaluate, did that automation actually do something? I've definitely heard of automations taking many, many months to create, and then it didn't actually make the process any more efficient, right? It just, yes, it did the thing, but it was quicker for the person to do it. So, you know, just really, I think, again, with autonomous IT, it's more about giving you as a business owner the ability to go and be more of a consultant for your clients, right? The table stakes are the backup and security things, right? These are things that you have to deploy on endpoints. But if you really want to be that next level provider, that next level extension of your customer, you're going in and you're showing them how they can be more efficient. As Keith mentioned earlier, right? You're selling customer service to their customers, right? You're making their customers happy. So if you can make them more efficient because you are the technology extension of their business, that's what you should be focusing on, right? That's the service that you're selling them, the outcome of their business being more efficient because of your services.
And when you're dealing in security and with customers that require a certain level of security, like the ports or aerospace, you start worrying about all these MCPs and APIs that are being created, because those are easy targets for hackers, right? It's like we're locking the safe but leaving the keys under the front doormat, and so you really have to look at and saying all this AI you're integrating, how are you doing it? And I think those are things, you know, MSPs or technology providers, where we call ourselves this week, have to be asking their vendors, is like, you know, is this controlled? Is this, you know, how are you linking to my PSA? And where is the API and the MCP located, so I can turn it off if I'm feeling suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are questions that should be on your checklist as you go down this path.
And with that, you know, we were talking to James and you know, and Keith, it leads to one of the topics that you're going to be covering is like, how do you continue to build that client trust, regain the client trust by providing, you know, all of these different solutions. So it's like huge game changer here as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at being a managed service provider and you're offering a stack, right, and it's a list of solutions, that's just a bill of sale, right? If you're looking to be more trustworthy, right, the best way is to build a relationship. You know, you can't, you don't build trust without a relationship. You've already won the business, right? Maybe the person who you won the business through is still with that business, but that doesn't mean that the business is done, right? I believe that you have to have touch points with your customers. You need to understand, are they still the same business? As I mentioned Mark earlier, right? He started out as a hosted exchange provider, and then he moved into managed services. He switched. I bet you your clients have switched as well. So if you don't have these conversations with them, then you can't really build the trust. And I truly believe that, again, with automating some of the workflows that, you know, could be taking up a lot of your time, you could be spending more time with your clients, understanding what's most valuable to them.
And I would elaborate. James does such a great job because he has a great beard. But you know, the other thing is tying in your reporting to something that is measurable business outcomes that matter to your customer. You know, we were at a MSP meeting at a shooting range last week, which was really cool because it was a really nice place. But some of them were talking about what they present on QBRs, like the number of tickets I closed, who cares? The number of, you know, what I backed up, who cares? I think when you go directly to your customer and say, we moved this many TSUs at the port and set another record for dispatch on time, that's what they pay you for. You know, and or you say to your customer, we're getting, you know, we're keeping people on hold this much shorter because of the systems we automated, because we took this off the people's plate and let them focus on customer experience. I think when you focus on that, they trust you because you're going like, this guy knows my business and cares about my business. Most MSP sales techniques are about, let me walk in the room and tell you how awesome I am. And every month I'm going to send you a report and say, build a statue of me in your lobby because I'm pretty cool. And that's everyone, you know, and your customers don't want to talk about that. They want to walk around and say, I want you to, you walk in and say, I came in here because I admire your business. I want to know more about what you're doing, and show some real interest in that, and then align with their business outcomes and talk in their dialogue. In fact, if we started talking to customers about how we're going to safeguard their APIs and MCPs, they're going like, there's a tech guy trying to prove he's the smartest guy in the room again. Means nothing to them. I just, you know, that's in our conversation.
So that's such like a buzzworthy future forward conversation, right? Like everybody's trying to have this conversation that they think everybody else is having, and it's not necessarily the conversation that needs to be had, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, if they don't know what the goal is, they're just building to build, and that's fine. If you want to tinker. Again, I've got no problem with tinkering, but you know, if you're truly trying to solve a problem and make something simpler for a business and achieve, you know, excellence and operational efficiency, you got to know what it is that they want to accomplish, right? And sometimes they don't know, right? You got to sit down, you got to talk to them, find out what it is that they're trying to do, brainstorm with them. Again, you're an extension of their business.
We used to call it airline magazine business management, where some CEO or high-level person was on a flight, read something in a magazine and goes, I want to do this in my business. And we have to be intelligent enough, mature enough, and aligned with them, you know, almost be at the big boy table with them and say, guess what? You're not ready to do that. We can put that on the roadmap for a year from now, but we have to take all these steps along the way. And this means that we have to refocus on something maybe you talked about, you know, 3 months ago. Like, before we go there, we need to make sure we're really enhancing your security and following a set of guidelines we can live up to. So I think we have to learn how to talk about those besides being the guy at McDonald's counter and saying, do you want fries with that?
Yeah, you gotta look at, you know, what MSPs had to change when moving from Breakfix to managed services. You know, what we're going to need to then focus on and change again as we adopt more autonomous operations, right? It's not just about, oh, let's build something to build something. It's more about including the technology, right? It's about saying, how does the workflow actually run, right? Now, if they don't know, that's where we're coming into play. We're helping them do workflow design. We're helping them with service packaging. We're helping them with pricing, employee roles, customer communication, and governance, right? It needs to be practical. And, you know, the MSP is going to help them understand which workflows need to be automated first, which ones can be automated first. As you said, it may be that we need to revisit something from 3 months ago. You know, how should these capabilities be positioned to the customer? How do you preserve your accountability, right? And how does maybe this automation change how this is being delivered as a service?
And importantly is, which should we not automate? And I bring that up in disaster recovery all the time. You know, if you have a big checkbook, I can make every system redundant, but that doesn't make business sense. So for smaller customers, we go in there and say, here's your manual process you did long before we invented computers. That's your backup plan while we recover your systems. And it's maybe a matter of just saying that now, because you have employee churn, we have to document that. We have to practice that every quarter. We have to have a set procedure. We actually have our clients like, here's the disaster cabinet. And behind there is the written, you know, the pencils, the order forms, the staplers, everything they need to do things manually until we recover the computers. And that brings down the stress level during And by the way, it's not as sexy as making a whole redundant system, but it probably fits better into their budget and has a better ROI for the little time they're down. And
and peace of mind. It's palpable, right? They see it. Besides just think of like, oh, my IT or my MSP has that, has that redundancy, something I can look, see, feel, and know that it's going to be there available.
And that's a very chargeable event. You can charge your customers to develop a true disaster plan. Most of our disaster plans stop at, I recover your stuff on the server, and everyone goes, okay, my office burnt down. I don't know what the hell that does to me. And really, it's taught, you really pay them, and you can charge them to go through those exercises every quarter. And it's a great income source.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm surprised we have, oh, no, there it is. There's or
5 to 10 minutes left.
Yes. It's like, I'm surprised I haven't seen the pop-up yet. Trying to keep track of time, because these are absolutely great conversations that we always have here, with our guests and Keith and Aaron, whoever joins our live streams, and also the ones that we have when we get together. So teaser, we're gonna, you're gonna be doing a deeper dive on this in September. You're gonna have Mark along with you.
Yep, I'll have Mark with me. He'll bring the operator and business perspective from BizCom, and I'll bring the technology and channel perspective.
Awesome.
And I'll bring this car.
It will be nice if we can have all that in that room. I don't think they'll allow us to, to have the talk and the cigars and the.
I mean, I think you could bring really whiskey. Nice. I mean, you could bring in a whiskey tasting, Keith. I've got no problem with that. You can definitely have, some flights going. Either way, you should all come and join us, right? We're take a great look at what MSPs have had to deal with over the past few years, and how we can move forward, right? The idea here is don't just ask, where can I use AI? Start asking, what's the friction slowing down my customer, right? What is it that my client is dealing with day in and day out? Find a process that repeats, standardize that process, right? And then establish the right guardrails. Then automate the parts that don't require the human interaction, right? That's going to allow you to really work faster. It'll allow you to deliver more consistent service, respond much more confidently, and create much more capacity for growth without having to take a hammer and axe people, right? The idea here is give them the ability to do more, not necessarily with less, but to do more, right? And that's what we're going to talk about in September.
I'm excited to hear that. It's always great learning, and I think one of the favorable parts about this user group over other ones or other conferences I've gone to is we seem to be like a group that gets kind of real. There's not a lot of guys up there that are talking about theoretical. We kind of get in the trenches, we get dirty, we learn from each other, and there doesn't seem to be this paranoia about, oh, you're going to steal my idea and I'm out of business. So I think it's the right climate and the right group for us to have this discussion.
Totally.
Absolutely. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions, a lot of stories that they're going to share in the room. So definitely looking forward to hearing.
That's why James wanted whiskey.
Hey, whatever you may need, right? Some people drink, some people don't. You may need some social lubrication. The idea here is that we're coming together to learn from one another, right? Either you're going to share something or you're going to learn from another. Either way, one's happening, or maybe both.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we're almost out of time. So, James, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you over in Blue Ridge on September 17th. And you coming to Anaheim as well, I assume?
I'll be in Anaheim as well. That's right in my backyard, and I wouldn't miss it for the world, guys.
All right. And there is it just changed. Well, there was the link if you need to reach out to James. There it is.
Reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever your flavor. We've got a Discord that you could join if you're an Acronis fan. be happy to share that with you and the other social media. So feel free to reach out. I don't bite. I'm happy to help. Let me know what you need.
Or in person in our next meetup. I'll have to keep calling that in.
All right, James. Always good seeing you, my friend.
You as well,
Yeah, man.
Keith.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Juan.
much.
Thanks, Aaron. I'll see you guys in a few weeks.
All right.
All
See
right.
you guys. Take care.